The Neville Goddard method that changes reality overnight. There is no power outside of you. The world you see with your eyes, the circumstances you touch with your hands, are but shadows, echoes of an inner movement. If you would change your world, you must first change the imaginal activity within. For imagination is not a mere daydream, it is the creative power clothed in you. What you dare to assume as true, though all appearances deny it, will harden into fact. So tonight I give you a simple method, so simple the wise of the world laugh at it, yet so mighty that the humble who practice it awaken to miracles. When the day is done and you lie upon your bed, let your body grow still as though in sleep. Now, in that quiet borderland between wake and dream, take upon yourself the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Do not merely think of it. Enter into it. Feel its reality. Smell the fragrance. Hear the voices. See the scene. Touch the texture of the world as though it were already yours. Imagination creates reality. To grasp this truth is to discover the hidden spring from which all the rivers of life flow. What you see around you, the events you call chance, the people who cross your path, the opportunities or the obstacles, are but picturings of imaginal activity that once lived in secret. The invisible precedes the visible, and the root is always deeper than the fruit. You may believe your circumstances shape your mind, but the reverse is true. Your mind, clothed in imaginal acts, shapes your circumstances. Imagination is not idle fantasy, not a passing picture that flickers and fades. It is the creative essence itself. When you imagine with feeling, you are not playing with shadows. You are planting living seeds in the unseen soil of consciousness. Each image, when felt as real, possesses a potency that cannot remain barren. You have carried within you since birth the power that fashioned worlds, but because it is invisible, many dismiss it, giving their allegiance to appearances. Yet appearances are nothing more than the crystallized forms of what once was entertained in imagination. Consider how a single imaginal act has changed the course of your life. Perhaps in youth you saw yourself in a certain role, felt yourself already being it, and in time you found yourself walking in that very state. Perhaps you dreaded an outcome, rehearsed it inwardly, and then watched as it unfolded exactly as imagined. Every man is living proof of his own imaginal activity, whether conscious or unconscious. The tragedy is that most create without knowing, believing themselves victims of fate when they are only harvesters of their own inner sowing. To use imagination deliberately is to take the reins of destiny. Instead of allowing moods, fears, or idle thoughts to govern the seeds you plant, you choose with care the imaginal acts you entertain. If you would be rich, do not imagine poverty. If you would be loved, do not dwell upon rejection. If you would be free, do not rehearse chains. Imagination is the master key that opens every door, but it will open the door to joy or sorrow according to the image you persist in holding. The great secret is feeling. To imagine a thing coldly, as though it were a dream far removed, is nothing. But to enter into the scene, to give it the tones of reality, to let it possess your senses until you feel its nearness, that is creation. When you walk in imagination, as though it were the solid world, the outer world will in time mirror the inner walk. Do not think of your desire, think from it. Stand within it. Let imagination clothe you in the reality you seek, and watch as the outer world rearranges itself to match the inward pattern. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. To assume is not to pretend, nor is it to hope vaguely that something may come to pass. To assume is to take upon yourself, in imagination, the very state you desire, as though it were already established. It is to step into the role and feel its weight, to wear its garment as though it were your own, regardless of what your senses testify. This act is not make, believe, for in the unseen realm assumption is creation. What is assumed with conviction in the inner world must, by the law of consciousness, be externalized in the outer. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret essence. Desire alone is not enough, for desire often implies lack. To long for a thing is to confess that it is absent. But to assume its fulfillment, to feel it already yours, dissolves the sense of absence and establishes the reality of possession. This shift from wanting to being is the turning point, when you no longer strain to attain, but instead rest in the conviction that it is done. The unseen forces move swiftly to make your assumption fact. To practice this, close your eyes to the evidence of the senses and construct within yourself the scene that would follow your desire realized. If you seek health, imagine yourself strong, active, moving with freedom. If you seek wealth, imagine the satisfaction of abundance, the relief of plenty, the joy of giving. If you seek love, imagine the warmth of companionship, the sound of laughter beside you, the quiet certainty of being cherished. Whatever the desire, the key is not to think of it as something distant, but to enter into the mood of it already accomplished. The assumption must be carried with feeling. Words alone do not suffice, for words without feeling are barren. But when the words of your inner scene are charged with the emotion of reality, they sink into the depths of consciousness and take root. Feeling is the lifeblood of imagination. It is the energy that compels the invisible seed to sprout. A cold assumption dies quickly, but a warm assumption, clothed in feeling, lives and grows until it finds expression in the world. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to live from the end, to occupy the state of the answered prayer before it has taken visible form. You move as though you already are the person you long to be. You act, not with effort, but with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing the matter is settled. The outer world may still appear unchanged, but within you the shift has already occurred. And this inner shift is the cause of all that will follow. Enter the state akin to sleep. This is the doorway through which imagination impresses its images upon the subconscious mind. It is that delicate borderland where the body grows quiet, the senses withdraw, and the mind hovers between wakefulness and slumber. In this state, the rational guard that constantly measures, doubts, and questions begins to fade. The conscious mind loosens its grip, and the subconscious, impressionable and fertile, stands open to receive. It is here that the seeds of creation are most easily planted. For what you impress at this threshold sinks deep and germinates without resistance. The state akin to sleep is not the heavy unconsciousness of deep slumber, nor is it the restless chatter of waking thought. It is a twilight condition, soft and fluid, where images flow more freely and feelings deepen without the interference of logic. In this drowsy state, imagination becomes vivid, alive, and potent. What you conceive here is not mere fantasy, but the shaping of reality itself. For the subconscious does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly assumed. It accepts without judgment the impressions given to it and brings them forth into the visible world. To enter this state deliberately, prepare yourself at the close of day. Lie down in comfort, allowing the muscles to loosen and the breath to slow. Let the cares of the day dissolve and give your attention inward. Do not strain, for effort keeps you awake. Instead, yield gently, allowing yourself to drift towards sleep, while maintaining a faint thread of awareness. In this soft descent, you will find yourself in the perfect condition to create. Once in this state, bring before your mind the scene that implies your desire fulfilled. Make it short, simple, and vivid. If you wish success, see yourself shaking hands in congratulation. If you wish healing, feel the vitality in your body. If you wish love, sense the embrace and hear the tender words. The scene should be one you can easily repeat, for repetition impresses the subconscious more deeply than scattered images. The key is to feel the reality of the scene. It is not enough to see it. You must feel it so intimately that it seems natural. The subconscious responds to feeling, not to empty pictures. Let the imaginal act carry with it the tones of reality, the sound of voices, the touch of surfaces, the weight of presence, the atmosphere of completion. As you hold to this imaginal scene in the state akin to sleep, you are impressing it upon the depths of your being, where it will grow without your conscious effort. When practiced faithfully, This act becomes the surest means of transformation. The conscious effort ends as you drift into true sleep, but the impression remains alive and active, drawing to itself the circumstances required for its fulfillment. Plant the seed in the subconscious before rest. The mind, like the earth, receives whatever seed is dropped into it, and in silence it brings forth after its own kind. Just as a farmer does not sow one thing and expect another, so too the images and feelings impressed upon the subconscious in the moments before sleep will in time unfold themselves in the waking world. Sleep is not an end but a passage. It is the gateway through which today's imaginal act becomes tomorrow's fact. The subconscious, ceaseless and tireless, works while the conscious mind rests. Whatever thought, image, or feeling you carry with you into that deep stillness becomes the blueprint from which the invisible crafts the visible. The moments before sleep are sacred because the conscious guard of reason grows weak. Doubt, which during the day argues and questions, loses its voice. The rational mind that insists upon facts and appearances begins to dissolve into quiet. In that drowsy borderland, the subconscious stands open and receptive. It cannot argue, it cannot deny, it cannot resist, it only accepts. If in those moments you fill it with fear, fear will shape your tomorrow. If you fill it with lack, lack will take root. But if you deliberately impress it with the feeling of your wish fulfilled, then that assumption becomes the seed that must grow into harvest. To plant the seed is to enter into the imaginal scene that implies completion of your desire and to rest in it as though it were already true. This is not idle daydreaming, but purposeful sowing. The farmer does not scatter seeds carelessly upon barren rock. He chooses the fertile ground and covers the seed with earth, trusting that in silence and darkness it will sprout. So too you, in the fertile stillness of pre-sleep, bury the seed of your fulfilled desire. You need not strain, for growth is not your work. Your only task is to choose the seed wisely and plant it with conviction. The manner of planting is simple. As your body relaxes and your breath grows steady, withdraw from the day's concerns and fix your inner gaze upon the end you wish to see. Do not picture the steps toward it. See only the end itself. If you desire abundance, feel the security of it. If you desire harmony, sense the peace of it. If you desire achievement, experience the satisfaction of it already attained. Let this feeling saturate you until it is the last impression carried into sleep. Just as the earth does not distinguish between the seed of wheat and the seed of thistle, so the subconscious makes no distinction between good or ill, wanted or unwanted. It simply gives growth to that which is sound. To plant the seed before rest is to understand the rhythm of creation. Day belongs to action, but night belongs to imagination. The acts of the day are but the fruits of seeds planted in countless nights before, and the acts of tomorrow will spring from the seeds you plant tonight. Live from the end, not toward it. To live from the end is to occupy in consciousness the state of already being or having what you desire, rather than struggling toward it as though it were still distant. When a man lives toward the end, he acknowledges lack. He confesses that his desire is not yet realized, and by so doing he prolongs the sense of waiting. But when he lives from the end, he assumes the position of completion, and his whole being radiates the certainty that the matter is finished. Consciousness alone is the cause, and the outer world is only the reflection. Therefore, to shift your consciousness to the fulfilled state is to command the outer to conform. Living from the end is not about forcing the outer to change, nor is it about waiting anxiously for signs. It is an inner stance, a secret dwelling, in which you quietly accept that your desire is already yours. You see the world from that accomplished state, not as one who hopes to arrive there. If you desire freedom, you live as though free. If you desire wealth, you think and feel from abundance. If you desire love, you relate to yourself and others from the certainty of being loved. Every thought, every mood, every imaginal act is aligned with the finished state, and by this alignment the invisible law brings it forth. To live from the end is to shift your inner conversations. The dialogue you hold with yourself, often unnoticed, is the shaping power of destiny. If you speak as one still longing, your subconscious hears longing. But if you speak as one who already is, your subconscious accepts it as fact. This is why the smallest imaginal act, repeated and persisted in, outweighs the loudest denial of the senses. You need not fight appearances, you need only persist in living inwardly from the reality you choose. Living from the end also alters the way you perceive others. Instead of seeing them as obstacles or helpers in your pursuit, you see them as participants in the drama of your fulfillment. They will act in harmony with your assumption, for the world is nothing but yourself pushed out. The roles they play, whether friend or stranger, will mirror the state you occupy. To dwell in the end is to set the stage, and all characters must enter and act their parts accordingly. This practice requires faith not in another, but in the creative power within. The senses cry out that the desire is absent, yet you remain unmoved. Knowing that what is real in imagination must externalize, faith is not blind, it is the vision of the unseen. By sustaining the end in imagination and refusing to return to the old state, you prepare the way for its embodiment. The outer may resist for a season, but persistence in living from the end will bend it into agreement. To live from the end is to live as though the promise is kept, as though the prayer is answered, as though the dream is fact. The world rearranges itself to reflect the position you occupy within. Let the bridge of incidents unfold. When a seed is planted in the earth, the farmer does not dig it up each day to see how it grows. He knows growth is certain, though invisible, and he trusts the natural sequence of life to bring forth the harvest in its appointed time. In the same way, once you have impressed your desire upon the subconscious through imagination and feeling, you must release the concern for how it will come about. The unseen power within you sets in motion a chain of events, a bridge of incidents, which leads inevitably to the fulfillment of your assumption. These events may appear ordinary, even coincidental, but they are the precise steps required for the invisible to become visible. To let the bridge of incidents unfold is to relinquish control over the means and hold fast only to the end. The conscious mind desires to dictate how and when the desire should manifest, yet it cannot see the infinite web of connections through which the fulfillment will arrive. The subconscious, however, holds the pattern and knows the path. It arranges people, places, and circumstances with a wisdom beyond the reach of reason. What may seem like delays, detours, or accidents are in truth the ordered movements of the bridge carrying you to your destination. This bridge is not built by effort, but by assumption. Once you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and persist in it, the bridge is set. Every step you take, every encounter, every unexpected turn becomes part of the unfolding pattern. The temptation arises to interfere, to question, to abandon the assumption because the outer has not yet shifted. But to do so is to uproot the seed before it bears fruit. Your task is not to force the bridge, but to walk it, even when its direction is hidden from view. The bridge often unfolds in ways the rational mind could never design. You may meet a stranger whose casual word sets a chain of opportunities in motion. You may be led to a place you had no intention of visiting, only to find there the very connection you needed. You may find yourself inspired to act in a manner you had not considered, and that action proves to be the perfect step. Each incident, trivial in itself, becomes essential in the sequence. Only when looking back can you see how perfectly the pieces fit together. Allowing the bridge to unfold requires faith and surrender. Faith at the end is already secured in imagination, and surrender of the anxious need to control appearances. The more you trust, the more freely the current carries you. Resistance comes from doubt, and doubt delays, but trust allows the invisible hand to work swiftly and smoothly. By keeping your attention fixed on the end, you release the need to question the means. The bridge is the natural outworking of the imaginal act, and it cannot fail to appear once the seed is planted.